Good morning. Over the last several hours, we've both recovered the body of Emily Lou, and we've charged our person of interest, 25-year-old Brian Sayers, with her murder. Our thoughts and prayers remain with Emily's daughter, Emily's sister, and their entire family. As you all know, since June the 4th, our Major Crimes Bureau has been working around the clock with this investigation. I want to thank our partners who've assisted us along the way. It was day 50 from the day Emily went missing, from the day we believe Emily was killed. It was 50 days until we found her body. So our homicide detectives, I want to thank them. I want to thank our crime scene investigators. I want to thank the FBI for their assistance, the Prince William County Police Department for their assistance, George Mason University Police Department for their assistance as well. I also want to acknowledge our victims services advocates, our victim services division. They're the best in class, best I've ever seen. And they've been with Emily Lou's family, particularly her daughter and her sister, every step of the way. So now it's time for the criminal justice system to take it from here and hold Brian Sayers accountable for the brutal, vicious murder of 72-year-old Emily Lou. Major Ed O'Carroll, the Bureau Chief of the Major Crimes Bureau, will give you some more specifics, and then we'll stay to answer any questions you may have. Major.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. As the Chief introduced, I'm Major Ed O'Carroll, Bureau Chief of Major Crimes, Cyber, and Forensics for the Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department. This morning is day 51. Justice came last night here where we're reporting from, and it had been 50 days since Emily Lou vanished. We shared that video with you the last time that Miss Lou was seen alive at the Aldi grocery store in Prince William County, Virginia. Dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews led us to that person of interest. And last night, we broke the case. Thousands of hours of investigative steps have been taken by the Major Crimes Bureau, our detectives, our forensic specialists, and frankly, you, the media, and our community. What you did worked. Leads brought us out of state. Last night, detectives were phoned by the person of interest. Detectives met that person of interest. Detectives, along with Brian Sayers, came to this area, and detectives discovered the remains of Emily Lou. We do not have a motive at this point, but on behalf of the police department, all the efforts of the detectives and professional staff, our condolences to Jenny, to Emily's sister, to Emily's family, and to the community. This murder is tragic. This murder is heartbreaking. Emily didn't deserve what had happened to her. She did nothing wrong. This is not the outcome that we desired or hoped for, and I am personally saddened and heartbroken about the closure that has come to this case. But justice has prevailed, and Brian George Sayers Jr., age 25, of Woodbridge, formerly of Lorton, formerly a tenant of Emily Lou, is under arrest, charged with second-degree murder and felony disposal of a body. I, too, like the Chief, want to thank our detectives who have worked tirelessly, but I also want to take a moment and thank the Chief. I said this at the last press conference. I do want to say it again, that the Chief has been supportive of my team on this case, on all our cases, to the detectives, to the crime scene specialists, to our victim services, to our patrol officers, to our partner agencies. We did it. Again, not the outcome we wanted, but justice, again, has been served. And again, to the community that shared the story of her disappearance. And again, it took 50 days for justice to come, but the day has arrived. So we're not far from the Davis Drive address. or under 2 miles. Our search and rescue team had worked tirelessly through the area. We came close with our efforts. Emily was caring. Emily was loving. And Emily was amazing. And again, my condolences. At 72, her efforts in the community was that she was caring for others. So it's so unfortunate that she is the 13th homicide in Fairfax County in 2021, but we will pursue justice. As the chief said, the case has been largely turned over to the Office of the Commonwealth Attorney. But we have a lot of work to do. As you can see, we're here today. We've been here throughout the night, and we'll be here at least throughout the day, collecting any additional evidence. We have a lot of work to do, additional digital forensics and evidence that we're looking at. But Brian Sayers is at the Fairfax County Adult Detention Center being held on no bond. We'll take any questions that you may have.
You said he's a former tenant. How long ago, I guess, did he last have some sort of knowing relationship with her?
The night he killed her.
So he lived with her then?
Yeah, Brian lived with Emily then, and that murder took place on the Davis Drive property. We have firm evidence to support that. His new address is the county jail. Next question.
I was just saying, right, because we didn't have this confirmed. So he was a tenant of hers in her home on Davis Drive?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you find? It's right back here. Is this where you found the body?
Correct. And let me just emphasize that the detectives located Emily Lou.
Was he very cooperative when he called you guys last night, or was it sort of, I guess, how do you sort of characterize his reach out?
So I will say, I think what you all did, and what the community did, and what the detectives did, what everybody did, worked. Emily's killer called us last night, and detectives met with him immediately, and he brought us to this area. And detectives do what detectives do best, and that's investigate. And as they combed the area, they discovered her remains.
Did he say why he wanted to come forward at this point?
No.
Are you assuming you think he killed her the day she went missing, or do you know when the actual death happened?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be specific on that, but we do know, he is responsible. That's why he's charged with the offense that he is, or the 2 offenses that he's charged with. And we do have strong reason to believe that it occurred at that residence, probably within the time frame that we have, based upon all the evidence.
Do you think she was here then, right after that, or have you?
Yes.
Where was he prior? You said he's from Woodbridge, but he was living with her. Where was he when he had called you?
He was in Prince William County. I'm not going to give this specific location, but he was actually near a community center ballpark, sitting on a bench. And when detectives got that call yesterday, they've been working this case around the clock. And let me just say, we've talked to Mr. Sayers several times. He was one of the dozens and dozens and dozens of people that we talked to. And the chief and I have been before you kind of telling the story. And I was pretty adamant that, we believe that Emily's killer was not a stranger, and it was someone in her life. And I think I've used those exact words at the podium. And our investigative leads led us here, which included that phone call last night. That was a break in the case, but I had high confidence that this case would be solved either way. I'm glad that we found Emily. I'm heartbroken and sad by it, but it brings closure. We spoke with Jenny, as soon as we knew, to alert Emily's family and give that news.
Was this a guilty conscience thing then for him?
So I'm not going to summarize, why he called. What I will tell you is what happened. He called. We answered that call. We had a successful plan in place, and it worked. But it's not just the detectives. It's you all. Thank you. You told the story over and over again, and it's important. This was and continues to be a very important case. And I've said these words before too. Every case is important. We were determined to find Emily, we hoped that we'd find her alive.
Was there a weapon used to kill her? Do you recovered that weapon if there was one used?
Yeah, so I'm not going to discuss what we have collected as evidence specifically from the scene, from a vehicle that may have been used. I mean, clearly, I think it goes maybe without saying a vehicle was used to transport her here, or what was located at the scene. So, Justin, I'm just not going to go into specifics about what we've discovered. Autopsy's underway as we speak.
Do you know if he had any connections to this area, the golf course, the school, or anything like this, or just a convenient, out-of-the-way place?
So I think as observers, you can look around and say, this is a fairly remote street, but I do not know if he had connections to the area. But let me say it again, Brian Sayers brought us to this area. It was our detectives that discovered her.
Had you had contact with him before?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can say we had a lot of contact with Brian Sayers.
I mean, before this incident.
Oh, before the incident, excuse me. Thank you for the clarification, Justin. Yeah, I'm not going to discuss our prior law enforcement contacts with him. I'm just not going to get into that.
Guys, 2 more questions?
So when you said contacts with him before you met in this case?
So when Justin asked that question, I was referencing this case. We had talked to him on multiple occasions. We had talked to a lot of people on multiple occasions. Because like any investigation, as soon as we uncovered more and more information, it led us to maybe some more questions, some more evidence, that timeline. And again, last night's discovery, got us where we are.
And you all have been doing this for a while. Normally when you have a homicide investigation, it starts with a victim and a body. We didn't have Emily Lou's body. So we had to really work in partnership with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. There is such a thing as a bodiless murder warrant, and we were working in that direction with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, gathering evidence, collaborating with them. Brian Sayers was our person of interest. It was him. He knew he was our person of interest, and for whatever reason, and that's a great question. Why did he call us last night? That's a great question, and hopefully we'll eventually know the answer to that. But I'm glad that he did, because we owe this moment to Emily Lou's family.
So he never told you guys why he was calling after all the other conversations you had?
Well, he was a person of interest. If we had probable cause to charge him with the murder earlier, we would have, but we weren't quite there yet. But we were still working around the clock to both find Emily Lou, find her body, find her, hopefully, and gather enough probable cause to make an arrest. And now we have that. Did
you feel you were close to going with the bodiless warrant for his arrest?
The conversation was underway. It's been done elsewhere. But obviously that's something we have to pursue on behalf of Emily and her family. And the Commonwealth Attorney's Office has been with us every step of the way. And I can't thank them enough.
Last question, guys? Good. All right, Chief. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chief, good to see you.